So I'd like to recount for you the tale of us renting this property from Airbnb, from Tony and Frank, mostly because we just want to warn people. And I'm going to try and be as matter of fact about this as possible and try and be as dispassionate as possible because I don't want there to be any accusations of hyperbole or overselling it. We arrived at this home for the beginning of our vacation, and immediately upon walking up to the door, we knew we were in trouble. The door was extremely dirty and filthy. It was the paint was all peeling off the frame. You could tell multiple locks had been put on the door, but nobody's ever painted the door since the house was new. So it looked like I was walking up to Section 8 housing, and there was trash lying around the front. I was the doorbell was even broken. I mean, I was shocked at what I was seeing. So a little worried. Open the door and I walk in, and the first thing that hits me is a smoker smell. Now, not the kind of smoker smell from people I think who smoked in the home necessarily, but where they probably were smoking like chimneys outside. And you know, people, you get a house full of people that smell like smoke, it leaves that scent in the house. So the house kind of reeked of smoke, and we're walking around noticing that, right when we got to the stairs, I mean, the stairs were stained and filthy. The carpet looked like it was, 15 years old and been beat to death. Um, they were the floor was absolutely just filthy. All along the edges of the where you walk in, the baseboards were all dirty, and we just kind of start slowly creeping through the house, like having this shock of what we were seeing. Now, mind you, I've done multiple years where we come to Florida and we rent a large house, and it's typically a really great experience. You walk in, you see a beautiful, clean home. It's got things your house doesn't. You walk around and you see all this, and like exploring the home is a big part of the experience. That's what makes it fun. And we're walking around from room to room, and it's kind of getting worse as we go. We go into the master bedroom, and the carpet in there is completely destroyed. It's wrinkly. It's all messed up. Stains, stuff like that. And then we go on to just every room in the house just is a very similar thing. Dirty, filthy. Along the tops of the door frames and stuff, there's dirt that's just coming off. And you just wipe your hand across it and it's just falling off. And then we get to the second floor and look down and we see the top of this like island thing is so covered in dirt. It looks like it's 7, 8, 10 years worth of dirt. Hot mess, just absolutely disgusting. And go in the shower. The shower's got mold. It's just on and on. As we keep going through the house, it's worse and worse and worse. And so even when you looked at the register vents were clearly years and years and years of just dirt and probably without a filter. People an air conditioner without the filter. It makes all this kind of dirt and soot around the vents everywhere you look. So then we finally walk outside and we get to the pool area, and the pool area is literally missing entire sections of screen and big chunks of places where the leaves have been falling into the pool, and the pool is full of leaves and the water's cloudy. Hot mess. Okay. So, we're shocked. So we immediately, we contact the owners, what we think is the owners, but it turns out later, Tony and Frank are not the owners. They're intermediaries who handle scheduling, which that makes this whole process worse, and something you should think about working with actual owners, not with people who are intermediaries, because they have a totally different commitment to the process. But anyway, we contact them immediately. There's apologies. They say we'll send somebody out the very next day. Well, they send out a cleaning crew the next day who it's two people who speak absolutely zero English. So, we're trying to communicate with them and pointing at things. And we're pointing at walls where there's like little, garbage trickling down, like somebody splattered things against the wall. But, we realized very quickly that this is going to be an all-day project of trying to navigate them pointing from one thing to another, which feels awful, by the way, because these people don't really know, and you can't really communicate. So they're trying to get out a phone app, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to put a stop to this. Forget about it. Thanks but no thanks. And then, I contact the company and I'm like, look, if you're going to send somebody out, send somebody out that speaks English, or send out somebody who we can talk to that can talk to them. But and by the way, they didn't even have the equipment that they needed to get to, on top of things. They need ladders. I mean, this house needs a deep cleaning. It's disgusting. And so, but I also said, about the pool. So they brought somebody out who at least put chemicals in the pool and swept out what was in the pool as far as leaves, but they left everything around the perimeter, and the screens are still open. So, and then we realized that the hot tub wasn't working. So we, now we go ahead and get in it because, well, now it's at least got some chemicals and the water's not cloudy, but the hot tub doesn't work. And there was multiple rounds of them over the week, sending out multiple people. It would work for a little bit, and then it would stop working again. And it might be hot a little bit or get a little bit warm, but most of the time it was just room temperature water with bubbles. That's all we had. I mean, it never was able to be resolved. And as the week went on, we began to find more things about the house. The deadbolt didn't work on the front. There were switches that had, shorts in them, so we couldn't get the, outside light to stay on, the security light. So you'd walk up in the dark and you have no way to even see the touchpad. I mean, it was just the dryer vent was disconnected. And so, I fixed it, I connected it, but then I realized the reason it probably was disconnected is because the thing's clogged. Takes 3 cycles to dry everything. I mean, it was just on and on and on. The list of things that need to be done here were like nothing I had ever seen. And quite frankly, I did tell them, and I would say to you that if this house were put on the market today, it would need to be listed as a fixer-upper. It's got major issues. At a bare minimum, it needs all the carpet replaced, a fresh paint job. I mean, the furniture had holes in it, for crying out loud. I mean, this house was not as listed. It's very clear that the pictures that they post are from when the house was brand new, and then put those up, and then they use that as the basis for trying to trick people into coming here under a luxury rental. Well, I can tell you, and the pictures speak for themselves, this is anything but a luxury rental. And moreover, I would like to say that Airbnb stepped in to help, but they did not. I went ahead and tried to negotiate and say, look, here's what I think is fair. I tried to be very fair with what I asked for in compensation, and they basically said no. They refunded me $300, which isn't even barely covered the cost of the pool heat, or maybe that's about what because we paid an extra premium above, but nothing else. They still charging me for the cleaning fee and the full 2,000 whatever dollars I paid, as if that was supposed to solve it. Even though I had sent them all the pictures, I literally built this site that you're looking at to try and show them how bad it really was. But they weren't really all that interested in helping me at all. And so I want to caution you. First of all, don't rent anything from Tony and Frank. They have other listings of other people that have said, similar things. The house was obviously much older than what they had, posted in the pictures. So they're kind of known for this. But moreover, when you're selecting a house from Airbnb, here's what you need to think about that you've probably never thought of before. You need to make sure that who you're renting from, the people that you're going to be in contact with. You should ask when you're messaging the people, say, are you the actual owners or are you an intermediary? That's going to tell you something you need to know. But when it comes to Airbnb, if you arrive with someplace that's not as described, make your plans quickly to just go somewhere else and completely leave and say, look, not as described, I'm out. If you do that, there's a much better chance you'll get back all of your money. We were kind of in a pickle because we just didn't know and we'd never seen anything like this. I've rented dozens of places through Airbnb and never had a problem before. And in fact, the one problem I did have with, which was very minor, I arrived at a house and the water wasn't turned on. The guy got it turned on within an hour, and he felt so bad he refunded me all my money, and I didn't even ask him to. That's typically the kind of relationship you have with people when they're the ones and it's their own house. When there's intermediaries, you can easily get very screwed, which I did in this point. So be cautious about using Airbnb and who you rent from, and make sure you read all the reviews. If people have other listings, read those reviews. Be very, very careful, and don't rent anything from Tony and Frank. And I would also add to that, ask what company is going to manage the property. In this case, it was a company called Jeeves, and I can just tell you they were helpful when I'd get them on the phone, but not helpful in actually doing any of the things that needed to be done. I think it also bears mentioning one additional fact. This worked out great for Tony and Frank and for Jeeves because I came here on what was supposed to be a relaxing vacation, and I ended up going through the house and finding all the broken light switches and the door locks that didn't work to the bathrooms, and creating a nice comprehensive list of all the deficiencies for them to begin working on as soon as we're gone. And by the way, they sent in a crew to fix the screen while we were here on one of the days where we actually wanted to be home and use the pool. Even without the hot tub, we thought, well, at least we can hang out in the pool area. But that's the day they chose to, without notifying us, send out a crew to spend the whole day replacing all the screens in the pool. So what's doubly frustrating about all this is that we did them a service. They came here or we came here, and they basically spent the week trying to repair things here. Now, they didn't do half of what they needed to get done, but at least they got a comprehensive list. So there's a way in which I was basically a handyman for them and a project manager to get their house in much better shape than it was before. And that's what I think is doubly frustrating, that they made out and I got screwed. So my vacation was ruined. And Tony and Frank, whoever they are, wherever they're at, I hope I get to meet you someday, because I'd like to tell you this to your face. You ruined my vacation. And the fact that you were not willing to do any more than give me a couple of $100 back, and which did nothing to actually compensate for what happened here, you're terrible people. I just want to say that. And so again, buyer beware. Be very careful when you work with Airbnb going forward. And I hope this steers you away specifically from this property. Don't go to this property, whatever you do, and steers you away from Tony and Frank.